sidekick and a joke. Where you at? What else we got out there, Doctor?
We got Dr. Yosef Ben Yochanan.
Where's he at?
Hey, we got Chauncey McIntyre.
Francis Crest Wellesley.
We got George G.M. James.
Hey, we've got Malcolm X.
That's right, Dr. Chancellor Williams.
Where you at?
You can't forget Dr. Amos Wilson.
That's right. Come on in the house, and we say good afternoon to you, and welcome again to the program called Freedom Road, where we walk down this highway together. The highway of economic, political, social, historical conversations. And we've got a great conversation for you this afternoon with a wonderful guest. You'll probably learn some things that you thought that isn't. And we'll be talking to our guests in just a short. And if you would like to at any time get in on a conversation or either hit us up on Facebook, chat, comment, or whatever, feel free to do so. If you have any questions you would like to ask of our in-studio guests, feel free to call us at 843. You know the number by now. I shouldn't have to tell you that, especially all of the faithfuls. 843-379-1010 is the number that will always get you on the radio. 843-379 will always get you on the radio. So we say good afternoon to you, and we ask you to share this video. Please do that and give us some likes as well. So, Dr. O, how's it going with you?
Oh, man, outstanding, man. Black men on duty 24/7. We got to understand that we got to resist every step of the way. We have no friends. The only people going to be friends of ours is those black people who understand that we are descendants of slavery, and we got work to do. And anybody who come up in here who ain't for us, we got to make sure we let them know we ain't going to take no stuff from you.
We've had enough. Let me have that up there if you don't mind. Folks, this is live. You know, I'm talking about the CD.
Oh, yes.
You know, and this is live radio, folks. So, you know, this ain't no recorded stuff. What you hear is what you get. This is what it is right here. What you hear is what you get here. So this is live radio.
That's right.
And sometimes, you know, we feel like we want to sneeze, you know, we'll sneeze.
That's right. This is other people's radio,
like
community radio station.
If we want to cough, we'll cough. You know, we are human beings.
That's right.
We are not robots. So again, we are just so happy to have our guest here in the studio this afternoon. And our guest come in the personage of one Gregg Marcel Dixon. Now, he likes to be called Marcel, so we'll call him Marcel. You know, that's what he told us, so and that's good, and that's what we're going to know him as. And I think a lot, if you're looking for him, and he'll tell us, looking for him on one of the platforms, social media platforms, I'm sure you'll see Marcel as opposed to Gregg. But he's a teacher from Jasper County, and we call him a community activist. I don't know whether or not he calls himself that, but that's what we'll call him based on some of the things that I think that I've heard him doing, you know. And he's a reparationist. Now, I will call him that, you know what I'm saying, because I hear some of the things that he says. And if there is, and I think we was talking, Doctor, if there is such a term, you know, as reparationist, I guess you and I want to,
Absolutely, right? We are. That is what we are.
I guess that's what we are. Now, Marcel, he's running for the South Carolina 6th Congressional seat, 6th Congressional District seat, a seat that has been solidly in the hands of 81-year-old James Clyburn since 1993, I believe. And we're going to have a conversation with him about his campaign and why is he running. So with all of that said, you know, we're going to take this opportunity to welcome you, Marcel, to the WKWQ microphones.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me.
Pull in just a little bit, if you would. All right.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me.
All right. Yeah, it's just so well, it's a pleasure. You know, we're just so happy that you are able to come on in here with us. And we'd like to say good afternoon to Brother Clarence Mitchell. Brother Clarence, I think he's from your stomping grounds over there in Jasper County.
Right. Yes.
Brother Clarence Mitchell. We want to say Bam Robinson is in, Sister Jenny is in, and so for DJ Jesus Beats. That's our engineer here. He keeps us on the air. DJ G, we call him DJ Jesus Beats. His name is Vernon Kemp, but you know, and he has his own radio program. Yeah. So with all of that said, again, we welcome you here to the microphones. And before we get started, because we got a lot of stuff we're going to walk through this afternoon in terms of your campaign, in terms of the 6th District, but sort of, let's talk about your background for people who do not know you, and what have you been doing up until this point where we are right now? Give us some, from time little kid coming out. You don't have to go into little nuances of it, but just generalize it for us.
Well, like you said, my name is Gregg Marcel Dixon, and I am a native of the Low Country. My family, my mother's side and my father's side, they've been here on the South Carolina coast. I've been able to go back as far as the mid-1700s. I grew up in a very loving community with my great-grandmother, my great-grand-aunts, my siblings, my aunts, my uncles, and my cousins living alongside the Cherry Point community. Some people call it Pearlstein, right outside of the Lower Bottom area. And I am a teacher. I've been teaching in the county in which I was raised, Jasper County, because I wanted to give back to the children there, especially the Black American kids there, the Gullah Geechee kids, because I know of the inequity. So that has been my passion, and that's been my pride, and that has been the most primary way I give back to my community. But I realized that more was needed.
And I heard you talking, if you want to get into that, I heard you in one interview, you was talking about how, you were treated when you were in the Jasper County schools. Do you want to deal with that?
Oh, definitely. I was subjected to bullying, which some people consider bullying just a rite of childhood passage, but what I went through was, I would say, was actually sexual harassment, because I may have had mannerisms differently from some of the guys there. Most of the kids I went to school with were fine, never bothered me, we got along just fine, but there were two in particular who did quite horrible things to me, who would spit on me, would take, the metal clothespin and heat it up with a lighter and stick me with it.
These were black kids?
Yes, these were black kids, and one in particular, it's two of them in particular. Both are in prison now, and one I know will be there for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, I'm not surprised to hear that. And sometimes one would put me up against the wall and even rub his groin area against me. But the thing that bothered me the most was that when these type of things would happen, there would be adults right there letting it happen.
You're talking about teachers?
Yes, teachers, administrators, office staff. Even when I told the teacher about it, nothing was done. But when I fought back one day and I stabbed one of the kids with a pencil, I had the book thrown at me. So that experience stayed with me for a long time, because when I became a teacher, it was not something I was planning to do. I said I was never, ever going to have a child be subjected to any type of mistreatment or abuse under my watch. And I am glad that I stuck to that.
Okay, and so where did you go to school? You to get your teaching certificates and whatnot.
I went to a school, Fort Hays State University. It's a school in Kansas, but I did it all online because I was working full time. In South Carolina, the University of South Carolina did not offer elementary education. They only offered primary education, which is kindergarten through second. But I wanted to deal with upper elementary, which is third through sixth. So I found a school that was, of course, certified, and they accredited is the word, and they also had a great program that had won many accolades, and they had an online program, so I went with them.
Okay. Now you teach in the public school or the private school sector?
I teach in public. I've taught in public school in Jasper County my entire career, in TCL at the community college level.
Okay, all right, and okay, sounds good. Okay, again, folks, we are talking to Gregg Marcel Dixon. He's vying for Jimbo Clyburn's seat in the 6th district of South Carolina. And we're going to be talking to him about his campaign and whatnot. If you'd like to get in something you hear that's of interest to you, feel free to call us. We want you to stay on subject now. Sometimes y'all get off subject. We want you to stay on subject wherever we're going. Okay, tell us this, Marcel. Why have you decided to throw your hat into the ring seeking to represent the 6th Congressional District of South Carolina? Because it's a kind of jump from teaching schools to jumping into politics. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that jump.
Well, they're both very, very tough jobs.
Okay.
Teaching in the school system in Jasper County, like in many schools throughout this nation, which are, fortunately, the kids are usually from a low socioeconomic background, so they come to school with a lot of emotional issues, mental issues, academic issues. So it's very tough, but it's rewarding. It has a lot of rewarding moments. Politics, I'm pretty sure will be tough as well. But here's what happened. I was reading an article about a man who found out that he was related to his neighbors who were white, and he was a black guy, and he went to meet his neighbors who were white. And when I saw the image, I believe it was in the Charleston Post and Courier, I noticed the difference between his house and their house. Now, this is not begrudging the white family for having their big house, but the white gentleman in the family, one of them in particular, his daughter, she was saying how she couldn't help but feel guilty because she said that this house in which they live, this property in which they live, their family has lived there for centuries. They inherited it from her great-great-great-great-grandparents. Likewise, the black guy, he lived in, unfortunately, like a dilapidated shack. He had inherited that too. And I was thinking about when we inherit things from our parents, whether it's their personality, their appearance. So I was saying that black Americans in this country, even though we built this nation, we fought to protect this nation. We've been excluded from every single time this nation has invested billions into its citizenry, whether it was the Homestead Act that gave away hundreds of millions of acres of land that went primarily to white Americans, which today over 50 million white Americans, families can trace their wealth to the Homestead Act. Whether it was the GI Bill, where black American soldiers were coming back from World War II, and the U.S. government gave 14 million white American veterans billions of dollars to go to college, to buy a home, to get health care, to get a pension. Black American soldiers, like my great-grandfather, who is still alive, who fought just as well, didn't get a penny. So when I looked at that image of this black man with his white cousins, I realized that the same way that many white American families, not all obviously, but many, have inherited land and home and property and companies from their relatives, black Americans have inherited poverty and trauma and disenfranchisement that we are still going through today. But I don't begrudge necessarily any white person for that, because now we have representatives. So I was trying to get a law passed in South Carolina because I was wanting to give back, and I wasn't seeing a lot of my students soar the way I wanted
to get a law passed. Like how? How are you doing that?
I was trying to get a law passed to make black history more expansive in the state of South Carolina. Instead of just talking about a little bit of slavery and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, I felt that black kids and white kids, all kids, need to know the true story of black people in the United States of America, from our origins in African civilizations to the fact that without our intellect and our labor, this country would not exist. And I was looking for support. I called people at the county level. I didn't get any support. I called state senators and state representatives, no support. I called the NAACP. Not only were they unsupportive, they were nasty. And I called the headquarters in Atlanta. They were very nasty. Al Sharpton's National Action Network wanted to help me, but they are based in Savannah, Georgia, for our area, and they were overwhelmed. So I knew Clyburn was a historian before he became a politician. So I said, well, he would be interested in hearing this. And I called his office, and they said, well, we'll get back to you. And I was naive, apparently, because I was never really involved in politics. I was expecting an email or something, and they never got back to me. So I called again, and they said, we promised someone would get back to you. Just give us time. He's a busy man, but someone from his staff will get back to you. And it didn't happen again. And it was like the more determined they were to ignore me, the more determined I became to show them I cannot be ignored. So I started looking for Mr. Clyburn on the internet, and I found out some information about his district, which is the district where we live, South Carolina District 6. And I found out that his district, after having him represent us for 30 years, United States of America.
Okay, stop. Folks, I want you all to hear this. I've heard him say this before. I want you all to hear this. I want you to stop talking, get the kids quiet. And I didn't mean to interrupt your
that's okay.
Your
they need to hear this.
But I want people to hear this. Sometimes people listen to you, and they're hearing you, but I want them to listen to what you're saying. So they can use all of their faculties when you say what you're getting ready to say. So please, and I hope you can go right back to that.
Definitely.
Go ahead and say it.
This is the moment that changed my life, that led me down this path on which I never thought I would go. I found out of 435 districts, that's the total number of districts in the United States of America. Mr. Clyburn, after representing us for 30 years, his district is the 6th poorest in the United States of America.
But he the kingmaker.
That's what they call him. But here's my thing. If you want to be called the kingmaker, then we need to be living like royalty here. And we're not. We are the 6th poorest district out of the 435 total in which to live. But it gets worse than that. For children, there's more. For children, and the majority of this district is a majority black district. For children, and the majority of children in this district are black children. It's the 3rd poorest district. So that means we are living in what is close to being the poorest place in the United States of America. And I said, I'm a teacher.
Yes.
I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 17 years, and I have my data. When kids come to me, 77% leave being able to read on or above grade level, whereas when they came to me, only 25 to 30% were. So, but if I was a teacher, and I have been teaching for 30 years, and yet only 6 of my kids can read,
that's a problem.
I want to ask people listening, would you put your child in my class? If I had been teaching for 30 years, but only 6 of my kids can read, would you trust me teaching your child? And I know the answer is no. Likewise, when I saw that after 30 years, we are the 6th poorest in the nation, our beautiful majority black Gullah Geechee district, I said my people deserve
the whole United States of America.
In the entire country. So I wasn't originally planning to challenge Mr. Clyburn. I was trying to get, why are you not doing more for us? Because we all know he endorsed our current president, of whom I'm not a fan, which I'm saying out front.
I'll get back to that. We're going to cut this.
And I went to a town hall, and I said to him, people say if it wasn't for you, Mr. Clyburn, that Joe Biden would not be president today. I said, so he owes you. And I said to him about his district being the 6th poorest out of all, overall, and for children, the 3rd poorest. But I told him other statistics that if anyone listening thinks I'm lying, I want you to prove me a liar, look it up, because I promise you, you won't be able to do that. I said black Americans today in 2022, we own less homes now than we did in 1961 when it was legal to discriminate against us. That's the time period I did not live through. My great-grandmothers and my great-grandfathers lived through it, and I grew up with them. I actually have less of a chance of being a homeowner than they did. We have lost 14 million acres of property since 1969. We're barely holding on to 1 million acres of rural land property. Black men have the shortest lives of all groups in the United States of America, and instead of our life expectancy getting longer, it's getting shorter. Black women are 5 times more likely to die giving birth to a child than any woman in the United States of America. They are more likely to die giving birth to a child than women in poorer nations like Mexico and the Philippines. And I said to Mr. Clyburn, you said that Joe knows us and we know Joe.
Meaning Joe Biden.
Right. I said, I don't care about the type of heart Joe Biden has. I said, I want to know what policies is he going to pass. I said, because since being in office, he has done executive orders and policies for Asian Americans. He's done things for Native Americans. He's done things for Hispanics. He's done things for LGBTQ. But where is his policies for black Americans? Where the people he said have always been there for him, and he said he will have our back. But now, to this day, he's done 89 executive orders. Not one has been for us. Do you know what Mr. Clyburn said to me?
What's that?
He told me that I need to pretty much read more. He asked me, did I know about a study? And he said that my ancestors are his ancestors too, and don't I ever question him about while he stands up for us.
What?
But that same town hall, a Latina jumped up and asked him about illegal immigrants who are buying property that our people have lost, who are buying property that our people have stolen, who are taking jobs that our people used to do. He jumped up, smirked, and smiled with her. So I realized then and there, it's not that he can't do things for us. He's choosing not to do things for us. He's choosing to do things for the Hispanics, for other groups. And I said, I'm not going to sit back and watch my people get treated this way. I said, even if I lose, which I'm not, I said, Harriet Tubman, when she made it to freedom, her husband, when she told him that she was going to go back and try to save her parents, he said that she was insane and she was going to be killed. And he believed it so much that he went and married another woman when she left. Harriet Tubman, maybe she did not know that she was going to make it, but she went back because she knew it was the right thing to do. I said, I want to be like Harriet. I want to do something, not because it's easy, and I know it's going to be hard, but because it's the right thing to do, and my people deserve it.
And is that the same thing, something that we talk about? And folks, I know much of what Marcel is talking about. I know you've heard this. You've got to heard this ad nauseum.
I think so.
On this program, and I'm just so happy to have him here.
Yes.
Didn't there were people back during the periods of enslavement, just like in terms of reparations. I'm going to just jump a little bit, then I'm going to come back. Like many, especially our people, even American descendants of slaves.
Yes.
Let's just try to hold out the immigrants and whatnot for a minute. Many of our people say, oh, y'all wasting your time. Y'all ain't going to get no reparation. But didn't people say the same thing about the ending of slavery, chattel slavery?
Yes, they did. During abolition, Harriet Tubman's own siblings, if people ever read her biography, they told her we were never going to be free. And Harriet said to them pretty much, I'm going to show you. We were told abolition would not come, and it came. Of course, we had to go through a bloody war for it. That was not our fault. That was really white America's fault, because they could have easily emancipated us and things could have been done peacefully, but abolition came. They said with the civil rights legislations during the civil rights era, they said that we were never going to have the Jim Crow laws rescinded and deemed unconstitutional and illegal, and it happened. So I find it very funny when I talk to some of our own people, and to be honest, especially my elders, people who lived through the civil rights movement, who saw a big change happen in this country. I find it very discouraging when I talk to them that reparations is the third phase, because before Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was killed, he said we are going to get our check. And yet when people say to me it ain't never going to happen, they ain't never going to do it, I say, you might as well go ahead and spit on our ancestors' graves. That's disrespectful. You are telling our ancestors, who ain't never let someone tell them what wasn't going to happen. We said to them, sit back and watch. You're now telling me that we are not our ancestors, that we are not as strong as they were. That's a dishonor to our ancestors, and I'm not going to sit there and accept it.
Okay. I like the fact how you mentioned about the third phase. That first phase was the chattel slavery, and you had black folks saying we ain't going to get out of that. The civil rights movement, getting rid of some of them Jim Crow laws, that took place. And this is the third phase right now with the reparations. So then what do you say to those folks who keep saying that ain't going to happen? Or how do we deal with that when it does happen?
So the thing I find very funny is that the people who say it's not going to happen, the moment reparations does happen, because it is going to happen,
I like that.
They're going to be the first ones there lining up to get their check. And that's the thing that bothers me.
Yes.
And I want to be very clear about something. I want to be clear to people about what reparations is and what reparations is not. First, I want to say to anyone who's Gullah Geechee, as I am, as I'm sure a lot of us are, this is the Gullah Radio, we should be ashamed of ourselves saying that reparations will not happen, because we are the first people to have actually gotten it. It was for a short period of time, but 40 acres and a mule, that was because we as Gullah Geechee people, we met with General Sherman, and when he said, what can this country do to repair the wrongs done to the Negro, we said to him, give us the land that we have cultivated. And for a short period of time, we got that land that was owed to us. We deserved way more. My family still has property from Special Field Order 15 in the Port Royal experience. So it has happened before. It didn't happen in the way that it should have, and it didn't happen on a large scale, but it has happened before. But what I say, so I tell those people that look at history, I know A very famous person once said, if you don't know from where you came, you have no idea where you're going. So I tell those people, study the history of our ancestors who, even though times are still hard for us now, they went through a lot more and dealt with a lot more violent, brutal times than we have, and they made things happen. I refuse to believe we are weaker or we are weak people coming from those same ancestors. My great-grandparents, my great-grandmother who died in 2015 was 101. It will be an insult to her for me to say it ain't never going to happen when she was born in 1914 and lived through a time where our people stood up in spite of racial massacres like the Black Wall Streets being burned down and said, I'm going to make it happen. I'm not going to insult her like that.
Absolutely. Again, folks, we're talking to Gregg Marcel Dixon. He's vying for the 6th congressional seat, now held by 81-year-old James Clyburn since 1993. And I want to jump. Now, I know that you were talking about running as a write-in candidate. A write-in. I want you to explain what write-in. I know what it means, but explain for our audience what write-in candidate means. And but then now you're running as a Democrat. So what was that all about?
So at first, I was never involved in politics. I am not a quote-unquote experienced politician, but I say to people, Mr. Clyburn has been in Congress for 30 years, and we are almost the poorest area in the entire country. So if that's where experience gets us, I don't want to be experienced if that's where it gets us. So I said I was never going to get the money because you have to pay to get on the ballot. And it was $3,500 roughly
to get on the
ballot.
Oh,
and I did not know anything about running a campaign. So I said, well, I want to send a message to Mr. Clyburn and the Congressional Black Caucus, period, who does more for illegal immigrants. I said, I want to send a message to them that if you ignore us, you're going to end up getting replaced by us.
Yes.
So a write-in candidate for someone whose name is printed on the ballot, they can write your name in. But if you spell their name wrong, it doesn't count. So you have to spell the name completely right. So people were telling me, Marcel, look, you may not have the experience, but you have something better for that. You have the effectiveness, you have the passion, you have the care, and you have the love for your people. And people were telling me to run. So after much soul searching, and I did a lot of soul searching. And after realizing that my life was never going to be the same once I took this step, I said, my people deserve this. And I said, I'm going to do it. Because here's the thing I want people to understand, if I may say this real quick.
Go ahead.
People have misconceptions about reparations. Reparations is not a payment from white Americans to black Americans, even though white Americans were indeed the people who were in the government.
But we had a candidate on last Sunday said that there's a string attached to our money.
We got to talk about that. I got to hear more about that candidate.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. He said,
and I'm not trying to disparage the candidate, but I'm just saying that's what he said.
He said he didn't want it.
Well,
he said he didn't want it.
Give me his check.
That's what I'm talking about.
It doesn't come from white Americans. Reparation is a debt that the American government owes to black Americans for unpaid wages and damages be from chattel slavery and things like Jim Crow and redlining and land theft. I want to give people this illustration. Let's say there's a company that two people are forced to build, and the company becomes large and successful and gets a lot of employees, and you fast forward in the future, and that company is now the most powerful company in the world, but the people who built it were never paid a dime, and they were poisoned while building that company. No fault of their own. They have children, and their children are born with this poison. Their grandchildren are born with this poison. Their great-grandchildren are born with this poison. So while the company has become successful and powerful, these people have just become sicker and sicker. Would anyone say it would be wrong for those people's families to go to this company that is now rich and powerful and say, hey, y'all owe us. My people built this company. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be successful. You were supposed to pay them, and you never did. Now it's time to pay the debt. Of course you wouldn't. The people are not going to sue the employees of the company. They're just suing the company. Likewise, the American government
But the government said they ain't got no money.
And that's a lie they tell us. The American government, I want people to look up Ben Bernanke. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. In 2012, he was talking to then Congressman Paul Ryan, who was running for president once against Mr. Obama with John McCain. Paul Ryan was interviewing him, and Ben Bernanke and lots of chairs of the Federal Reserve have said this, y'all. They have said it is impossible for the United States of America to run out of money. And let me explain to people how.
Go ahead.
I want people to ask themselves this question. How does the United States of America fund the military? Do they tax us to fund it? No. How do they fund the COVID vaccines? Did they raise taxes to fund that? No, they did not. How do they give, right, exactly, I was about to ask that.
Yes.
How did they fund the stimulus checks and the increase of the American unemployment? How did they fund when Barack Obama bailed out the auto industry?
Yes.
How did they fund when they bailed out the airline industry? Where did all that money come from?
Yes.
I can tell you where it came from. The United States of America is something called a monetary sovereign, y'all. A monetary sovereign means a country can create its own currency, and here's how it's done. The Federal Reserve simply approves America for a credit extension, and the United States of America can simply create more money. The only thing that we have to be concerned about when it comes to creating currency is inflation. But this myth, this lie, that in order to finance reparations, that's the second thing I want to get to.
Go ahead.
We have to raise people's taxes or the country will go broke is an absolute lie. Because did we go broke from the early 2000s to 2021 when we were spending almost $20 million a month on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and the wars in Syria? $20 billion a month for 2 decades. Did we go broke? No, we did not. Did we go broke when the Great Recession happened and Barack Obama had to spend billions upon billions of dollars to bail out the auto industry, and then he had to spend billions of dollars to bail out the real estate industry? No. Did we go broke when we paid the Japanese Americans reparations because they went through 2 years of being put in internment camps when black Americans have gone through 500 years of unbelievable oppression? The myth that this country will go broke or someone will see an increase in their taxes because of reparations is just a lie that the government uses to keep people like white people who would actually benefit from reparations to fight against it like they've always done, like they did during the days when poor white farmers would try to work with black farmers in the South. The rich white farmers would come and tell the poor white farmers, why are you working with the Negroes? You're better than them. And the poor white farmers fell for it all the time. It's the same type of games that are being played right now. So those are the two myths I want to be clear about. Reparations doesn't take a dime from white Americans. It comes from the American government, and it is not going to result in this country going bankrupt.
Not going to happen.
This country has no problems trying to jump into wars. They're trying to jump into a war right now with Ukraine. They say they want to help Ukraine defend its borders. I find that very funny. This is the same country that lets illegal immigrants jump in over the border all the time. Right. And not only do we let illegal immigrants come into our country illegally, not protecting our own borders, we then want to give them citizenship, give them houses, give them business loans, things that black Americans like my great-grandfather couldn't get, even though he's a descendant, as am I, as am y'all, of the people who built this nation. We have to stop believing these lies people, including Mr. Clyburn, tells us.
And how do you going to sell it? And I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
I do. And how do you sell this to, people who believe the lies? You know what I mean? How are you going to sell that? You're a young man, first of all, that's a good thing. And then, but what I'm saying is, but how are you going to sell that to some of these old, all these old folks, the same one who Clyburn went to in order to help Joe Biden, who's running about third or fourth coming into South Carolina? How are you going to sell that to them?
Education is very important. I'm a teacher, and I tell my students, and I know this is cliche, but I really learn something new every day. The things I'm sharing here today, I didn't always know. Someone had to teach me. I always go to people, I don't go to them with a condescending condescending attitude like I'm the best thing coming along for you. You need me. No, I tell people what I have been taught, and I show them the facts. And I have to have faith that when people see that something has not been working in their interest, they say the first rule of nature is self-preservation. I have to believe our people are going to vote for their self-interest. And I want to be clear about something. Mr. Clyburn is not as popular as we think he is. He's been in this district, our representative, for over 30 years. But I've looked at his record. You see, he's never been challenged before. It's easy, right? It's easy to look
white boy guy every now and then.
It's easy, from the Republicans. He's never been challenged for someone of our people, his own people, who's calling him out. It's easy to look all powerful when everyone's afraid to stand up to you. I am not afraid to stand up to you. And here's what I found out. So I do my research on him. In the 30 years he's been representing us, only once has he gotten more than 200,000 votes. One time, and that was in 2012 when Barack Obama was running for re-election.
He just hit it as
he didn't have, but not just that, there wasn't a Republican challenger, there wasn't a Democratic challenger. He was literally the only person on the ticket. So of course he would get a high number of votes. Other than that, he usually gets around 150 to 150,000 votes out of 457,000 total. So what that shows me is not that so many of our people are voting for him. Most of our people are actually not voting. So the
they're not voting at all.
They're not voting at all. And why? Because remember Clyburn's protege, Jamie Harrison. By the way, I went to him and I asked him what was his black agenda, because I went on his website and he had things for Hispanics, he had things for LGBTQ, he had things for Native Americans. And I said to him, you are from Orangeburg, which is 86% black. If without black people, you won't be winning. So what are you going to do for us? That man looked at me and said, the last time I looked in the mirror, I'm black. I said, I can't pay my bills with you being black. You being black is not going to save me in a shop without police. Yes, I have it on video. So Jamie Harrison, if you're listening, if you or Mr. Clyburn dare want to call me a liar, I have videos and y'all know I have it on video, so please don't do it. But here's the funny thing though. So I realized then, he told a story that was very powerful though, Jamie Harrison. He said he went to an older black gentleman's door, and usually older black people are very receptive to politicians. And he said, the older black man said to him, what you want? I don't have time. He said, well, sir, man, I asked why you're so frustrated. He said, look at this dirt road you just came down. He said, look how boggy it is. He said, it ain't got paved on the Carter. He said, it ain't got paved on the Nixon. It ain't got paved on the Bush. It ain't got paved on the Reagan. And he went down the line. He said, Clinton, Bush Jr. He said, Obama. He said, it ain't going to get paved under you. Slammed the door on his face. So our people are not voting because they feel like, for black people, we have a right to feel this way. They feel like nothing's going to change. I have to reach people and let them know something is going to change. All it takes is one person to stand up to do the right thing. I am going to be that one person.
Okay. Yep. All right. 843-379-1010, folks. We are talking to Gregg Marcel Dixon. He's a teacher, activist, and reparations candidate from Jasper County, and he's running for the 6th congressional seat, which is currently held by 81-year-old James Clyburn. And we are having a conversation about his campaign and why he's running. Now, Marcel, I noticed that you talked, in other words, you talked about a number of the problems that's in the 6th district, and I think I went to your website, and I think you had like 4 bullet points or something like that on your website. And I guess that's what people want to hear, because many times what we find here, especially on this radio program here, especially with candidates over the years, they would come in here and they'll say, well, what are you for? They'll say, well, I'm for education, I'm for health care, I'm for Social Security, I'm for this, I'm for that. A bunch of nothing, generalized answers. But when you ask them, well, what is your plan? They don't seem to have a plan. But I'm going to let you answer that, but we're going to take these calls, because most time you don't like to call us the whole. If you can remember that question.
Sure, I will definitely remember that.
Okay, let me pull up this caller. Hold on. Okay. Let's talk to, that looks like Sincere?
Yes, it is.
Okay, hey, Sincere, how you doing? Hey, bro, you there?
Yeah, I said good afternoon. How you doing, brothers?
You're doing fine. Doing fine.
Sincere, how are you?
I'm great. I'd like to thank Brother Gregg Marcel for joining us on the program today. You re-inspired my faith in politics somewhat. And just briefly, from the conversation last week to this week is like a totally different thing. You've definitely studied. You know what you're talking about. I feel reassured. I would support you.
Thank you.
As opposed to an attorney to a teacher, man, you run circles around this guy. It's like, oh my gosh, what in the world are you on, breath of fresh air? I just want to thank you, brother.
Well, thank you so much. And you know what? I will say this. Before a teacher, we're the ones that teach the attorneys, so it starts with us. But thank you, Mr. Sincere. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir, brother. 100% pursuant here.
Okay, thank you, Sincere.
Peace, brother.
All right, okay, all right, that's Sincere. Is there anybody else would like to get in? 843-379-1010 would get you on the radio. 843-379-1010. Now, let's talk briefly about that. You don't have to go.
Platform.
Yeah, your platform. You know, I think it's like 4 points or something.
Yes.
You might.
No, I don't mind at all. I want people to call in.
Let's get the call first. We don't want our callers to you know, we don't like for them to hold on.
I love speaking with people.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, that's right. To get a one-on-one with you.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna let you get on.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Lloyd. Mr.
Lloyd. Okay, hold on. Let's get Mr. Lloyd up here. Hey, Mr. Lloyd, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Mr. Dixon. He just said that white people would do better with reparations than black people. Could he elaborate what he meant by that?
Sure, Mr. Lloyd. So there was a study done by Citigroup Financial, and Citigroup Financial owns one of the largest banking systems that has been deemed too big to fail. So chances are, I'm pretty sure a lot of white people use that bank. And their study showed that the United States of America anti-black racism has cost the United States of America nearly $17 trillion, not million, trillion. The current gross domestic product, GDP, of the United States of America right now, at the most, has been $19.2 trillion. That means the United States of America would be twice as rich right now if it had paid reparations to black Americans. So I need white people to understand something, just like Robert Smalls said in a speech. Robert Smalls, a congressman, my favorite, he's Gullah Geechee like me, in 1800s. He said to white congressmen in 1800s, he said, the Negro is here to stay. And he said it is to your benefit that he gets what he's due. So I want white Americans to understand. A lot of white Americans, and black Americans too, will say America is the most powerful, wealthiest, greatest nation in the world, and black Americans are the primary reason why it is so. But if we think it's great now, imagine how great would we have been if we were twice as wealthy. If we already are the wealthiest country now, that people from all over the world want to come here, imagine what we would have been if we had had those $17 trillion that we lost because of anti-black American racism. Also, Mr. Lloyd, black Americans put something like $3 to $4 trillion in the economy, and that's with us having the lowest wealth. The average wealth of all other American groups are like $122,000. For black Americans, it's only $24,000. That's how far to the bottom we are, and yet we add $4 trillion at least to this economy. That's not even talking about all the inventions. This is Black History Month, so I've been talking about the inventions we've done, and those are things that people use every single day. So just imagine how much more we will contribute to this economy, this country that we've built and we've protected and we've sustained, if we've gotten reparations. It will benefit white people because that's going to be more customers for their business. That's going to be a higher tax rate in their communities. That's going to be a more thriving nation for them. I want to say, ending with this though, it is quite unfair because every time white Americans have benefited, black Americans have not. There were many times throughout this country where white Americans, like the GI Bill, the Homestead Act, the Social Security Act, that put trillions of dollars into white America, and black Americans didn't get a penny. So it's kind of unfair when people ask how will white Americans benefit, but the truth of the matter is they would, and they would a lot, because their country and their communities would become twice as rich, and that would mean more resources for them. So thank you for that question, Mr. Lloyd. Does that answer your question?
Pretty much. I guess what you're saying is that white America should get behind reparations for black Americans because they're going to double their wealth.
Exactly. They will only become richer. The same way those poor white farmers who used to organize with black farmers in the South, they were richer when they were working with the black farmers, but they foolishly, because of their own ignorance and anti-blackness, they let the richer whites convince them that they were white and they shouldn't be working with black farmers. They would have been twice as rich then, and now with this reparations push, they and their children will be twice as rich. It's a win-win for everyone. So even though reparations only goes to black Americans who are descendants of those who were enslaved by the American government, I like to use the term freedmen because that's what we are called on the books of Congress, freedmen. It will only go to us, but it will benefit and help everyone, white Americans included.
I'm going to hang up with this. Mr. Clybourne, you're done. Good luck, Marcel.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. You take care.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna hit those four points right there. We're gonna get to that, and we were asking Marcel prior to the callers. We have a number of problems here in the 6th district, but then rather than giving us some general answers, I'm for education, I'm for this. What's your plan? What's your plan? Go ahead. Let's tell us your plan and tell the person to hold on.
Okay. Well, specifically, the first one is reparations, and that's when the United States of America, via a credit expansion by the Federal Reserve, which means no American taxpayer will pay a penny for it, will do direct monetary payments to all black Americans who are descendants of those who were enslaved by the American government.
Now, this is what you would advance if you was to get this seat.
That's the first thing I'm going to write when I get there. It's not for black people who are immigrants who just recently got here. I can't go to Jamaica, and if the Jamaican government says I'm going to pay the families of Jamaicans who went through something in the 1800s some money, I just live there and it goes to me because I'm not Jamaican.
Right.
It only goes for black Americans. I'm also going to bring back the Freedmen's Bureau. We are in an area, y'all. We had the first Freedmen's Bank. We had the first Freedmen's School. So the Freedmen's Bureau, for those who don't know, was a department of Congress, and this is something that Mr. Biden can bring back right now. All he has to do is write an executive board, but he won't do it. It was a department of Congress that handled any and all issues dealing with freedmen or black Americans who are descendants of American slaves. It was something that they were to look out for us, make sure we got good representation. I'm going to bring that back, and I'm going to also make sure that there's a commission to study and come up with immediate policies specifically for black women, black men, black boys in the issues of land, in the issues of education, in the issues of environmental racism. So that's the reparations piece, some of it. The second part is education. We are in South Carolina, which has the Corridor of Shame, and I went to the Corridor of Shame. Yes, I was raised in Jasper County, y'all, and I was educated by the Jasper County School District. The shame does not go for the teachers there. I had wonderful teachers, like my teachers, Miss Alston and Miss Green, now Mrs. Parker, and Miss Rubino, who was helped us get employment. They were wonderful. The shame doesn't go on them. The shame goes to the leaders, like Mr. Clybourne, who sat back and allowed that area to happen, and that area still exists. But the reason it exists is because America funds education in a way that no other country really does. America funds education based on property taxes. So that's crazy, though, because that means if you're born in a poor area, you're likely to have the least resources.
Right.
So if you're in a poor area, the amount of money you get from property taxes is going to be very low. Whereas if you're in a richer community like Bluffton, for example,
versus
the property taxes, are going to be much higher. So that's crazy because the richer kids simply get more, but the poor kids who need more get punished for just being poor. My plan is to write legislation where the federal government will make sure that every state has a standard where every kid can get a quality education. So if South Carolina's standard is that every county may need at least, I'm just throwing out a number, let's say $7 million. I'm just throwing out a number. That maybe that's a facetious number. And Jasper County can only come up with $1 million. The federal government will close that gap, because if we can invest in wars, if we can bail out these rich corporations, then why can we not invest in our children? I need need people to study ancient Rome. Ancient Rome didn't collapse because it was conquered from the outside. It collapsed from the inside. So if we don't invest in our people, we worried about China taking over, we worried about Russia taking over, we need to be worried about us collapsing from the inside. I refuse to sit back and allow that. So I want us to invest in our children. I also want to use schools as a way to feed families. What we may not know in America is 49 to 60 million people go to bed hungry. And South Carolina is one of the top states for malnutrition, meaning as we speak right now, there are families, and black kids are 69% more likely to be the kids that are homeless and experience food insecurity. Are we surprised? No. If schools could provide our children with breakfast and lunch, I want to work with small farmers, all farmers, and local farmers, black farmers, to help schools provide dinners as well for our children, but also for other members of their family. If we can give trillions of dollars to these rich corporations who don't pay any taxes, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, we can give food to struggling families, and that's going to feed kids. I also want to we have police officers in school, and as a teacher, I can tell you, unfortunately, schools are so violent. I can't say we don't need some sort of security, but we need more psychologists in school. We need more social workers, and not social workers that come and take black families' kids, but social workers that will help that family before issues really get out of hand. So if a family is struggling, whether it's with housing, whether it's with finding a job, whether it's with getting something like heat during the winter or air conditioning during the summer, a social worker will be there to help them. So those are just some of the things I want to do educationally. And there's transportation.
Yeah, you talked about your transportation.
We live in rural areas. When people think transportation, they think about like high-speed rail and things, and bus transit, and those things I do support, as long as they don't take any more land from black communities. But when I talk about transportation, I'm talking about the areas in which we live. We know we live in rural areas, and a lot of us know people who don't even have a vehicle, or a family of 4 that all have to share one vehicle. I know all of us can tell a story about a person who had a flat tire, and because of that flat tire, they had to miss days from work and days from school, because a lot of people are down to their last penny, and something like a flat tire can put a person out of work. And there are people, I've taught kids, we're in the low country, we're by the sea. I can't tell you how many field trips I've done with my children, and we go past the ocean or the Savannah River, and they ooh and ah. Now, we're Gullah Geechee people. We are people of the sea, and yet our kids have never even been to the beach before because their parents often don't have ways to even take them there. When some parents don't show up for a parent-teacher conference, it's not because they don't care. It's because they couldn't get a ride to get there. Some parents couldn't get well-paying jobs because they couldn't get anyone to take them to their job. That's not the way it should be. So if this government, again, can bail out trillions of dollars, bail out airline industries and the home industries when they're the ones who cause our economy to crash, we can help hardworking Americans get vehicles. So I plan to introduce legislation that's going to cover down payments for qualifying families and cover the first 3 monthly payments. I also want to work with small business owners in my community. We have a lot of people, a lot of the men and women here too, though. Some women could throw up the hood of a car and fix it in a minute. Exactly. I know some too. I want to work with those mechanic car garages here, even some of the shade tree mechanics who may not afford a shop. I want to help them get a shop, so when the government can cover, the Department of Transportation can cover shocks, oil changes, wear and tear, so that way when people get a flat tire and they're down to their last penny, they don't have to worry about being out on the street because of something as simple as a flat tire. It helps the small businesses and it helps our communities. And last but not least, as Black American, because my slogan is repair Black America to fix America. Because for anybody out there who's not Black, let me let you in on a little secret that history should have made very clear to us. This is a wealthy country, and yet we've never had peace. We won't ever have peace until Black America has peace. So until we repair Black America, we are never going to have a whole America. So I want Black Americans to get our communities back. Once upon a time, we lived amongst ourselves, and even though we were poor and we were going through injustice from the government, we had each other's back. Our land has been stolen. we have had our families broken up because of moving, because of eminent domain that took our land from us. I want to introduce community-directed public safety. There's a lot of talk about the police. I want to eliminate the reasons why we called the police in the first place. And there's a model out there where the only involvement we have with the police department is they help us get resources we need to solve our own communities. All of us are intelligent people. And one thing about us as Black Americans, we didn't cause any of the issues that we go through now. Some of us may make bad decisions, but the overall issues, we did not cause them. But we are always the ones that's called to clean it up. Like on January 6th, when the people invaded the Capitol, who was cleaning it up the next day? It was Black people. We always are having to clean up America's messes. Well, what I plan to do is give us the resources so we can finance our own nonprofits to take care of issues in our community, whether it be housing issues. That's not saying we don't deserve protection. I have plans for that too. I don't want to get into all the details, but I want us to have control over our communities and get the resources from the state and the federal level to do so.
Now, I know this is a short radio program, but now, what is your website so we can go to your website? I know they get more information on your website, right? But go ahead, tell us that right now.
My website is marcelforcongress.com, and I'm going to spell that for you. It's MARCEL, and then FOR, and then Congress, CONGRESS.com. And please go there, y'all. The only thing that's going to keep me, I've already won the argument. I need to win the election, and the main challenge I'm facing is being able to reach everyone. So that's where I need people who like what they're hearing and like my platform to tell at least 10 other people about me. Send them to my website, and if whatever you can do to support me, it will be greatly appreciated. marcelforcongress.com.
Do you know, or either do you really care? You know, you probably don't care, but do you think that Clyburn is aware of you?
Yes, his grandsons told me this is not his biological grandson, who's also one of his campaign managers, has told me. That's something else I want to talk about. And he has a grandnephew who's not his biological grandnephew, but he thinks of Clyburn like as his granduncle. Right. They both have told me, he mentions you, he mentions you quite often. And I also have had trolls come after me. And I don't think Clyburn is going to attack me, at least not yet. No. Because he knows if he attacks me, he'll be helping me out. He'll be giving me like free publicity. But he definitely knows about me. I even had someone of his and his little crew refer to me. I guess they're making fun of me being, Geechee. They refer to me as a swamp, saltwater N-word. Oh, yes. Now, Clyburn didn't say it now, but someone and his little crew on one of the little apps referred to me as a saltwater N-word from the swamp, from the swamps, right? That's I want people to understand, that's how a lot of them look at us. And I want to talk about something real quick. Clyburn was asked by George Stephanopoulos, who's a reporter, you pretty much gave Biden the presidency. And he said, so what do you feel he owes you?
Listen, folks, didn't we talk about that? Listen, see if Dr. Owen brought J line. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned this. Right.
Go ahead. I know you're going.
Clyburn is supposed to look out for us. We are the 6th poorest district. That means we only got 5 more spaces to go, y'all, before we're the poorest in the whole nation. We don't got much further to go. And yet, this reporter said to him, what does Joe Biden owe you? What would you like to see from him? And Mr. Clyburn said, nothing from him. But he didn't stop there. He said he just wants a country where his kids and grandkids can prosper. And you know what, y'all? Sometimes we say the quiet part out loud. He said he didn't want nothing for us. Now, we're down here losing our land, my Gullah Geechee people. We're down here struggling to keep on to our homes. We're down here not being able to afford our medication. Some of our people have simply died from working themselves to death and from poverty. And yet he said he wanted nothing but a place for his kids and grandkids. Now, I want y'all to understand this. Clyburn's, one of his daughters, was given a federal position by Barack Obama during Barack Obama's administration. Okay, his grandson has been given a position with him as his campaign manager and was a campaign manager for Pete Buttigieg. His other daughter was just given a federal position by Mr. Biden, and his other daughter works for the South Carolina Democratic Party as the political director. So when I win the primary, I'm going to be working under her. What type of stuff is that? I want people to understand. People had a whole lot to say when Stacey Abrams was running for governor in Georgia, because Brian Kemp was the Secretary of State, but he was also running against her. And people said that was wrong. And it was wrong. It was unfair. So how is it fair that Clyburn's daughter is the political director of the South Carolina Democratic Party, and yet I am pretty much going to be under her purview? We can't say, you see, we can't just call out the Republicans. Y'all, black people, I need us to understand something. And I say this all the time.
Bam, just hold on. We're going to get right to you. But go ahead.
Oh, okay.
No, that's all right, Marcel. Go ahead.
I want to say this really quick. As black people, we need to start acting like the Democrats owe us. I am running as a Democrat, but I'm not at the end of the day, I'm not going to run as a Republican. I'm not going to run as a Democrat. I'm going to run as a man whose heart and whose people and who is black. Okay, black people? We are black before we are Democrats. Stop acting like the Democrats have done so much for us, because truth be told, if you look at the policies to the 1960s, since the Civil Rights legislation, they have not done one piece of legislation for us. And I will talk more about that, but I do want to get to this person's questions.
Okay, let's talk to Bam. Hey, Bam, how you doing this afternoon? Is he still there? Oh. Hey. Hey, okay, now we got you. Go ahead.
My brother, Lord have mercy. I have learned so much at the time you spoke. I've never heard that much information. I don't know where you did your research or where you got it from, but man, you're so on point. And the reason why I know you're on point, because some of the stuff Brother Jay and Brother O have said, you came back right in line with some of the same things. I don't know, but Clyburn, he is in for a rude awakening. You got my support, and I hope everybody listen to this radio, and I hope everybody can go to your website and support you. You got my support 100%. Man, you talking about Congress, you need to run for president. the stuff I've heard today, man, I've never heard before. So thank you, my brother, and thank Brother Jay and Brother O for inviting you. I think this is about the best guest I've heard. I hope I ain't make nobody feel bad, but this wasn't the best.
Were you listening? Bam, was you listening last Sunday?
Yes. Let me tell you now, that's the difference between black and white.
Oh, yes.
From what we had last Sunday to this Sunday, it's the difference between black and white. I don't know, and I hope he's listening. He's listening too. But my brother, I just want to welcome you and congratulate you in advance, because probably he's never had this kind of competition. And thank you for having the nerve to go up against it, because the reason why he's a winner all the time, because he's never had real competition. And right now, I think he got it, and I think this is going to be his last chance. So welcome, my brother, and congratulations on your win already. We speaking in advance for your win.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bam.
Okay, all right. 843-379-1010. If you'd like to get in, come on. Give us a call if you'd like to get in. If you have a question by way of Facebook, you can hit us up on Facebook there. Again, we are talking to Gregg Marcel Dixon. Gregg Marcel Dixon, he's a teacher activist and reparations candidate from, and he's from right across the bridge from Jasper County. He's one of us, you know.
That's right. I'm a Binja.
Yeah,
I'm a Binja.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's running for the 6th South Carolina district, which is being held by Congressman Clyburn. And but first of all, now you're gonna have to get through this primary first of all.
Yes, that's June 14th, 2022.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get through. Now the way that works, because I was talking to someone the other day, a friend of mine. Now when you do that primary, Clyburn has to be in that primary as well.
Yes, he does. So that's really where it will happen.
Yeah.
And you can expect the Democrats to try some sick stuff. I've already been giving a very hard time by the South Carolina Democratic Party. They've been treating me awfully. What? I bought the information from them for the voter data, and Trav Robertson, if you want to call up here and try to say I'm lying, please do.
I know bald head Trav, that's white boy. I know Trav.
And he was.
I ain't right. I'm not saying I'm right, but I know that. Yeah. I know that.
Right.
I don't want to say the word on the radio.
Oh no, he's been very nasty.
Yeah,
when I bought the data, it didn't work. I had to spend hours, days trying to get it to work, and then they gave my phone vendor, who I used to contact South Carolinians, a very hard time trying to stall, and then trying to make it seem as if these were just, these were just coincidences. I already know they were trying to sabotage my campaign, but I was glad, because that means they're scared. Yeah. So, but what I'm saying, people, is I'm expecting, if they're expecting it, they're going to try something. Yes, they are. The closer I get to the election, you can expect more nastiness to come. You can expect lies be put out there about me. You can expect allegations, because Mr. Clyburn cannot run on his record. No, he can't. Because I'm exposing his record. I've already sent a postcard with his report card out. In fact, I didn't share it with y'all. I'll share his report card with y'all, and with his record there. But I want to, if I can, real quick, go ahead, because I know some people are clutching their pearl when I said we need to stop acting like the Democrats own us. Well, I'm gonna double down on that. Black people, Black Americans, stop acting like the Democrats own us. They don't. They supposed to work for us. We don't work for them. Stop acting like we are their employees. I was looking at Biden going to a church, and the people were hopping and hollering. I said, wait, he supposed to be working for us. What do you do for us? Y'all, understand this. Both parties in the United States of America have betrayed Black Americans. First of all, the Republicans were actually the party that used to be for Black Americans, for freedmen. They were the party that was for slavery ending. They were the party that was for us getting reparations. But what did they do? When they made a deal with the Democrats in 1870s, and they took the military out the South that was supposed to be there to protect us, and they left us exposed and unprotected to violence like the world had never seen, from us being lynched and our towns being burnt down, and our women and our men and our children being raped and even fed to gators on a daily. So the Republicans Party betrayed us. The Democrats, we like to say they did the civil rights legislation, but let me tell y'all where we went wrong doing the civil rights legislation. From my research, we're the ones who went through Jim Crow and redlining and being lynched and Black Wall streets. There was more than one being burnt down. Yet, and we're the ones that went out there and had the dogs and the water holes sticked in us and our houses blowing up and our people shot and killed. But when the civil rights legislation was written, and this is a problem we do, my Black people, it went not just to us, it went to all quote-unquote minorities, Asians, Hispanics, even went to white women. Now, when have white women ever become a minority? 40% of the slave owners were white women. So how is it that how is it that white women who were spitting on us and not wanting us to come to better school, how do they turn around and now get to benefit from our struggle when they were the ones fighting against us? But we sat there and let it. You got most affirmative action. Over 6 million white women now have high-paying jobs because of affirmative action. So something that was supposed to primarily help us because of centuries of us being excluded now mainly helps white women. Not just that, the Democrats did the civil rights legislation. They didn't do it specifically for us like it should have been. But since then, like I said, and look it up, everybody, since 1969, we've lost 80% of our property. And that's been us voting. 95% of us have been voting for the Democrats since the 1960s, 1964. Under them, we've lost 80% of our land. 80%. Under them, we now have the least amount of wealth. And there was a study, and people, please look up everything I say, because I'm lying. Someone please call me up and call up to the radio station and say you're lying. But I want someone to do that. We are now heading to having zero wealth by 2053. But we might already be there because they did a study saying by 2053, Black Americans will have zero wealth. But that was before COVID. Remember, COVID came along and 50% of Black businesses were eliminated.
Yeah, they went under.
So, and now, let's look at what the Democrats are doing. The Democrats have a bill that they're trying to make a law called the New Deal for the New Americans that will make illegal immigrants, 20 million of them, citizens. Not only will it make them citizens, it will give them federal resources for housing and for employment. Where is their bill for the original Americans? And I'm talking about Black Americans. We haven't gotten a a good deal from this country yet. Mr. Clyburn, where is the bill? Where is the bill that you're writing for black Americans to get all the land we have stolen from us back? Where is the bill you are writing for the millions, trillions, billions of dollars that black Americans have paid in taxes and in our blood that we never saw benefit us because our communities were starved? Where is the bill that you wrote, like for the Catawba Native Americans? And for those who don't know, the Catawba Native Americans are a group of Native Americans who live in upstate South Carolina and North Carolina. They used to enslave us, okay? They used to keep us as their slaves. Not only did they do that, their job was, one of their main careers were slave hunters. They would hunt our people down, and they were so brutal that our people would go and turn ourselves back in to the white enslavers than them. Clyburn in 1993 wrote a bill for the Catawba Native Americans to get special rights, protections, recognition, and privileges for all the things they've been through in this country. That's what the bill says. He just wrote, and that was in 1993, he wrote one again in November 2021 that just passed, and they got 17 acres of property to build a multi-million-dollar casino. Can someone tell me where's the bill that Clyburn's writing for us? Who has lost more land than the Gullah Geechee, than black Americans, freedmen? Who has been through more things in this country than us? For black people, when we want to give our votes to people, that's on us. When we give our votes away, our ancestors, people say our ancestors died for us to have the right to vote. That's not the whole story, y'all. They didn't just die for us to vote so we can feel good about it. They died for us to vote for people who were going to put policies in place that were going to make our lives better. Voting for someone who has been in office for 30 years or even 3 years but has not done anything to make our lives better, that's an insult to our ancestors. That's throwing away something that they work hard for us to have.
Now he would say, you know, to counter what you just said, he would say, well, how about my 10, 20, plan? How about that?
Like he said in the video about that 10, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20.
That plan.
The 10, 20, 30 plan. I'm glad y'all brought that up. He even tried to say that was our reparations. So y'all, the 10, 20, 30 plan, for those who don't know, is a plan that Congressman Clyburn has introduced where a community, check this out, has to have a poverty rate over 20%, which is very high because the average poverty rate in America is only 12%. Now Clyburn's district is 30% for black Americans. So again, it has to have a poverty rate of over 20% for 30 years, and then you qualify to get just 10% of federal funding. So basically, some of us will not even be alive in 30 years, but you have to have a poverty rate of over 20% for 30 years to get help. But here's the thing about that plan. And if Mr. Clyburn, if you want to say I'm lying, I welcome you to call because I have the paperwork from your website that you took down, strangely enough, after it was called out on Mr. Clyburn's website himself, because he tried to say this was reparations for freedmen, black Americans who are descendants of American slaves. But on his website, he said this plan would mainly benefit white Americans. He said 58% of the people who would benefit are white Americans. The next largest group, he said, was a mix of quote-unquote Hispanics and Native Americans. So even though he likes to sell this plan as anti-poverty, even if that's the case, it's not going to help black Americans. So we have to not let them sell to us this rising tide lifts all boats. That's the thing where they say, okay, black people, I'm not going to do anything just for you because I'm going to tell you we can't do that. But we can do things just for Asian Americans. Like when Asian Americans were having these hate crimes being done for them, in 2 weeks, they had an anti-Asian American hate bill. Where is the hate bill for black Americans who have been going through lynch mobs and our towns being burnt down and been getting raped and killed the longest for 500 years? Where is the anti-black American hate bill? bill, or the anti-freedmen hate bill, because that's what we're called. They will tell us they can't do things specifically for us, and yet you have the Hispanic caucus right now pushing for illegal immigrants to get citizenship. They will tell us that they can't do anything specifically for us, yet the Biden administration just 2 weeks ago is paying reparations to LGBTQ people who were not able to get inheritance from their spouses that died. So he's paying them for finances or wealth they may have lost. So tell me, people, how is it that they can do things for every other group, immigrants, Asians, Native Americans, Hispanics, and people who are not even Americans, like illegal immigrants, but when it's time to do things not for black immigrants, but for black Americans, y'all, we need to understand there's a difference. I'm not talking about black immigrants. I'm talking about for black Americans, the binya, the people who have been here in this country. How come when it's time to do things for us, they can never do anything for us? We need to not fall for that a rising tide lifts all boats, because what helps everyone never ends up helping black America. And if you want proof, let me repeat to y'all what I said at the beginning of this show. Black women can go to a hospital like any other group of people, but black women are the most likely to die giving birth to a child. So even though we all have the right to go to a hospital, black Americans, especially black women, are most likely to get diagnosed incorrectly and die as a result of medical malpractice. Y'all, if you don't want to vote for me, that's fine. But if you're going to vote for Mr. Clyburn, you need to demand that he has policies just for freedmen, black Americans, not something that's for everyone, but for freedmen only, black American. If he can't do it, look at that website, because I already doing it.
And that's your website again. Yeah, put your website again, because a lot of people want to contribute.
Okay, thank y'all. My website is marcelforcongress.com, and I have my platform on there. I have how you can donate on there. I have ways to contact me, and you know what? I'm going to even do something that I've always done, because I really just don't care. If you want to even contact me further, if y'all don't mind, I have my number to give out. I can give it out at the end if that's fine, but okay. My number, you can call, but I won't answer, but text messaging I will, is 843-940-8983. So my website again is marcelforcongress.com, and my phone number is 843-940-8983.
Okay, thank you, Marcel. And we still got a little bit more to go now. We're really enjoying this conversation.
Thank you.
And our listeners are enjoying it too. And not only we don't too much like to use them words like enjoy.
I understand.
We like the words we are being informed. We just happy to be informed.
Right.
Not like we just like this is a show or entertainment, because this ain't no doggone entertainment.
No.
If you was to hear some of the stuff we do, you would say, man, I ain't going back up there.
No, I've listened to a gallery before, actually.
Okay, now we talk about funding. Now you got to remember now. Like I said, I've never been, like you say, you're not in politics. I've never been in it either, but I've been around it forever. I know how it works.
Right.
I clearly understand how it works, and I know it takes money to run these campaigns. And others who are seeking this seat as well, they have some, I think is a doctor out of Charleston as well. We won't have to get into him, but as a doctor out of he's a black man.
Yes,
and I understand he's running as what you call a conservative Democrat, whatever the hell that is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he's running as that, and he's coming out of Charleston. And a lot of these people have, some somewhat deep pockets, and Clyburn's pockets are even deeper as well, as he has all these corporate sponsors. So how will you compete financially, or do you feel you have to compete financially to get your message out? How you plan to do that? You need money.
Money is a necessity, but you know what, y'all? You win an election not with money, because the days of slavery are over, so we cannot be bought. So it doesn't take money to win an election, it takes votes. And I am glad people are giving me the opportunity to earn their votes. But on the matter of money, when I first launched, like I said, I was a novice, and I first started accepting donations in October 2021. I'm glad to say I've had over 600 people donate to me, and almost over $30,000 raised. And that's with me being a very small, low-key candidate, but my campaign is getting more.
Mine are coming. I ain't gonna say how much right now on air.
It's okay.
Mine are coming. Okay.
So money does work, but y'all, the most important thing is word of mouth. But how I've been getting my name out there are commercials I have playing. I've been doing them on network television, but I plan to do them on local television. I recently been sending out Clyburn's report card. I'm not going to tell you what grade he has, but you should be able to figure it out. If you've been there for 30 years and your district is the 6th poorest out of 435 total, you're not getting an A+. Let me just say that. I sent 30,000 people his report card, and I'm going to be sending more people his report card because people have to be educated. Clyburn will say that he talks about like this $16 billion thing he got from the Build Back Better for infrastructure. He talks about that like, wow, great. But he is not saying to people the Department of Engineers graded South Carolina's infrastructure at F and said that South Carolina needed at least $67 billion a year to keep its infrastructure up. So a one-time $16 billion infusion is nothing when you need $67 billion a year. But you see, Clyburn won't tell people that. And our people, I'm going to be very honest with us, we need to do a better job doing our own research. We can't go to like the same way I want to go to any church and just believe what the preacher tells me. I'm going to look up at myself and see if it's true.
You were talking about infrastructure. What about the you said when it rains over there in that county?
Well, it is up in an area called Sands Hill, between Jasper County, Hampton County, and what part of Georgia is it? Effingham County, Clio, Georgia.
I know Clio.
Yep, when it rains out there, the swamp takes over, and several people who live out there by the Savannah River have boats.
Yeah, to get to their house.
Yes, have boats. That's literally the infrastructure we're dealing with, and that's not even talking about in my yard. Every time we get even a heavy rain, it floods. So infrastructure here is poor. But I just want to finish real quick. Commercials I have radio shows like this, and I am out there talking to the people. And I plan, Elizabeth Warren, the senator.
Well, I'll let you talk.
She did a tour of the Mississippi Delta to show how poor it was, to show that people have raw sewage in their backyards and have for decades. People don't realize here in our Gullah Geechee area, there are some people who still struggle with getting running water. Right. I told people, and people can't believe it. People think I'm lying. There was a lady who was living next to Miss Ola. Miss Ola used to have an outhouse. That was where she used to have to go to use the restroom. Her and her son, Jacob. So I'm going to do a poll of the Gullah Geechee area to show our rich culture. People don't realize without the Gullah Geechee, you don't have America. You don't. But I'm also going to show people how neglected our people have been. People talk about things like heirs property, which I know we all know, where our property doesn't have, no one has a deed to it because a will was not left. People don't realize we've lost millions of acres of beachfront property that now we have all these rich people come here and vacation on land that used to be ours, and not a word is said about that. And we're still losing heirs property. So things like that have yet to be addressed. I'm going to address all of that.
Do you, in your opinion, this opinionated question, do you think Clyburn is a smart guy, or do you think that he's slow, or do you think that he's wily?
I think he's extremely intelligent. And I even think, and I know people, let me explain this first, people, when I say this. I think he's actually a good politician because he can get things done when he wants to. He gets things done for Hispanics. He gets things done for the Native Americans. He wrote a reparations bill for them. He didn't write one for us. He wrote a reparations bill for Catawba Native Americans. He was getting things done for the illegal immigrants at the border. He wanted to make sure they were getting treated well in those border facilities. Now keep this in mind. 69% of all the homeless children, black children, are 69% more likely to be homeless than any other racial ethnic group. Yet he was worried about the illegal immigrants at the border who are breaking the law. So they're at a facility where they get 3 meals a day and have a roof over their head. What did he do about the 69% of the homeless kids that are black,
and many in this
right here in South Carolina, who are sleeping in roach-infested hotels or having to stay one night with a cousin here and one night with an aunt here and don't have a home? So he can get things done when he wants. The thing that I find unforgivable with Mr. Clyburn, politically speaking, is he has chosen not to do things for us. There's a young black lady.
Because what?
Because some people can be bought. And let me tell you, y'all know the history. We're Gullah Geechee. We the ones that did the Gullah Wars, or some people call them the Yamasee War or the Seminole War. The British military and the American military, they fought us for like 2 centuries and could not defeat us.
Jackson.
We don't back down. We don't back down. Everybody knows we're Gullah Geechee people. You might as well go ahead and shoot us, but we ain't gonna back down. We fight until the death. Some people don't have that Gullah Geechee spirit. So when you stand up for black people, look at the history. Anytime you stand for black people, it could be something as simple as black people should not be hung from trees. Everyone should know that's the right thing. That's the humane thing. It becomes controversial in this country. But you can stand up for any other group. You can stand up for LGBTQ. You can stand up for any other group. Everybody's fine. The moment you stand up for black people, everybody wants to act like, well, we can't do that.
Right.
You know, it's hard. Some people don't have the fight in them. And I think Mr. Clyburn, from 1993 to now, has made it clear when it's time to stand up for us, he doesn't have the fight in him. I'm not going to say he doesn't know that we are mistreated, because he's given a few speeches. The first time I came across him, I was a kid, and this is why I was so disappointed when I came across his record. The first speech I saw of Mr. Clyburn was maybe in the early 2000s, and he was saying that I'm tired of people talking about all this white rage. We're going to start talking about black rage because we have a reason to be angry. I was like, oh, wow. And what did he do? The next day, he kind of walked it back. He walked it back from it, and that's what he does. Then when Nancy Pelosi...
He just lost his head for a minute.
Right, and Chuck Schumer, do y'all remember in 2020 or 2021?
Took him to the barnyard.
Right. He said something about something. He said Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. He said the Democrats always want the black vote. He said, but look at their staff. Like even Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. He was like, where they don't got no black people working for them. And the next day he came out and he walked it back. So Clyburn, he did a whoopee. He's very intelligent, and the thing is, in his heart, I know he knows we've been mistreated, but he doesn't fail his actions. People can get mad if they want. Like I told a guy here who loves him, who's from Brunswick, Georgia, you judge a tree by its fruit. You don't have to like the fruit, but if it's an orange tree, it's an orange tree. So politically speaking, his record shows he's made the conscious decision to not fight for us. And I want to say one last thing. There's a young congresswoman named Laura Underwood. She's a black woman, but she's in a majority white Republican district in Illinois. But she's a Democrat. This woman came in Congress in 2018. She's only in her early 30s. She wrote a bill to do something about black women dying from giving birth to children. In 3 years, she's done more than what Clyburn has done in 30. Also, there's a white gentleman. His name is Seth Motrin. He's in Massachusetts. He wrote a bill for black Americans whose ancestors were, or whose great-grandparents, like mine, who's still living, was a veteran for World War II, but were denied the GI Bill. Now, it's not a good bill, because it doesn't give us any money. We deserve money. It's really just to give us a loan for our homes, but that's not fair, because a home then only costs $14,000. Right. You want to give me a loan for a home now that costs $600,000? That's not fair. That's right. But at least he's trying to do something, right? This is a white man from Massachusetts who doesn't have probably a drop of Gullah Geechee or black American blood in him. Why are other people, even a white guy, writing bills for black Americans when Clyburn is a black congressman from black South Carolina? So he knows how to do policy he has chosen not to do. So South Carolina, we need to choose somewhere else, because it is insanity to vote for James Clyburn.
Okay, we have a number of other questions here. Okay. We're going to kind of speed on through them, because we got about another 29 minutes, but we want to get through them. But we also want you to really kind of answer, but just if you can kind of give us the kind of Reader's Digest version. Okay. Now, if you were in that seat, more than likely you would be asked to become a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. You know what I'm saying? And would you join them right now? And are they really doing anything tangible that you can point to? In other words, the Congressional Black Caucus as a whole. I'm not talking about like one individual person. I'm just overall. Do you think that they are in our best interest?
The record shows no. And no, I would not join them. I would not.
Even as a Democrat, you wouldn't join?
I would not join them. I would start a Freedmen caucus. Here's the thing I want y'all to know. The Hispanic caucus, y'all go to the Hispanic caucus page. And for people, I want y'all to understand, Hispanics can be white, they can be black, they can be Asian. We need to understand Hispanics can look very differently. But on their page, they say they are there to fight and fight for the needs and better and quality of life for Hispanic Americans. That's what they say on their page. Go to the Asian Americans page. They say they're fighting for the rights and protection and better quality of life for Asian Americans. Go to the Pacific Islander page. They say they're fighting for the rights of Pacific Islanders. Go to the Native American page. They will say they're fighting for the rights and protection of Native Americans. Go to the Congressional Black Caucus page. They are the only ones saying people of color, all minorities,
Everybody else.
they are the only ones trying to fight for everyone. I had somebody say to me, well, that's good. That means we're better people. I say, you know what? Our ancestors, my great-grandmother told me, she was over that. She said she was tired of us being the bigger person. And she was an attorney of a type person. Right. I said to my colleague, I said, being the biggest person, what good has it gotten us? We're the brokest person. We're the person with the least land. We're the person most likely to get shot and killed. We're the person with the shortest lives. We're the person most disrespected. I'd rather be the person who gets what he's due than the biggest person. So I would not join them until they realize they are there to stand up for us, freedmen, black Americans. No, they don't deserve my membership.
Very well said. 843-379-1010. It's time beginning to wind down now. 843-379-1010 if you want to get on the radio. 843-379-1010. And we understand that Facebook is sort of messing with us here a little bit, Anytime, we have like some righteous conversation, Facebook begin to do their stuff. And we hear you, Facebook. We got you. But, but just like Marcel said, we Gullah Geechee people, we still going to fight you.
All right, we on back now.
We still going to fight you. We going to fight you. So you think it's going to happen this week? It's going to be next week. It's going to be the same thing.
Exactly.
We still going to fight you. Most of the black electorate, in South Carolina and across this nation, they despise and hate. I guess hate. I mean, they hate Donald Trump.
But I need people to understand, they act as if the Democrats, as if racism started with Donald Trump, as if black Americans were doing so well before him. I've told people, we ain't had nothing, but Donald Trump was nothing new to us. We done had 22 presidents that had slaves. We had presidents that were raping our people. So Donald Trump was nothing else. But I want to say something. People want to talk about Donald Trump.
Give me that Reader's Digest version.
Okay, look at Biden's history. Biden was an apprentice and a friend with segregationists. Of course, James Clyburn defended him, but no, you can work with people who are segregationists, but he was friends with them. He wrote thank you letters. A lot of our older South Carolinians, black South Carolinians, we all know Strom Thurmond. Joe Biden worked with him to keep black kids out of better funded schools. And he said, when asked why, he said he didn't want his kids growing up in a jungle. So black kids now would have made his school a jungle. Those are his words. Joe Biden wrote the crime bill in 1994 that locked up more black people, even more than the days of sharecropping in debtors' prison. So when people talk about Donald Trump, both of them are anti-black. The only difference is at least Donald Trump wasn't going to have illegal immigrants take over our communities and run us out of there.
You did. Absolutely. Okay, how about that black woman that I think her name what's her name? Ketanji or whatever her name is.
Brown, I think.
Ketanji Brown. Jackson, and then sent her to the Supreme Court. Does that mean anything for us?
No. And I want black people to understand that we got to stop falling for these little symbolisms.
Juneteenth, does that mean anything to us?
Juneteenth means a lot to us, but we've been celebrating it. We've been celebrating here in the Low Country since the 1800s, and we do watch night.
Did we get anything out of it?
But we got nothing from it. It didn't put a crumb of food on our plate, and it didn't help us.
Because white folks get the day off too.
Right.
Juneteenth.
Right. Exactly.
We should be the only one to get the day off and get some money.
And get paid.
Yes.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
We got to stop falling for symbolism. because of my people, just because they take a knee or they throw up the black fist. We got to stop thinking that's policies. Yes, I hope this Mrs. Kentar G. Brown does well for us, but we got to understand less than 1% of cases go to Supreme Court. That's not going to put a bite of food on our plate. That's not going to change the fact that even though black Americans, the census undercounts us, y'all. I'm not saying that 12% lie. We are at least 15 to 20% of the population. The census undercounts us. But one thing is true, we're 15 to 20% of the population. We make up over 50% of the homeless. A black woman on Supreme Court is not going to change that. What will change that are policies that Congressman Clyburn can write, but has chosen not to do. I am going to do it. Read my policy on marcelforcongress.com.
Is Beaufort County, as far as we talked about that on, we're just not sure. Is that still a part of the, had you said, I think you said you was going to look at that.
I've been trying to look at the new map, and the new map is very unclear, so I wish I can give a definitive answer, but I would say from the data that's still out there, they say it is, but they haven't updated it yet.
From what I understand.
Right, they haven't updated yet, but as far as I know, Sheldon, Yamasee, Dale, and what other parts of it? Seabrook.
Biggest state.
Seabrook. And Lobico. A little sliver of Lobico are still all in my district.
Okay.
You got to call it Daryl.
Okay, let's talk to Daryl. He's been holding on. Let's talk to Daryl. Hey, Daryl, how you doing?
Doing good, Brother Jerry.
Good for you. Doing fine.
Brother Dixon, thank you for coming on the program. I really appreciate hearing your thoughts and your views, man. I really am refreshed by hearing you.
Thank you.
Because the call from last week, I called in as well, and I was a bit more contentious, honestly. But it doesn't seem like there's a need to be, for me anyway, to be contentious with your position, because I'm in total agreement with everything I've heard you say today. The other thing, I've shared your webpage to the comment section for the program this afternoon, and I've also shared it to my personal page, as well as I've made a small donation. So good luck to you. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm really glad you came on the program.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Darrell. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, take care.
Thank you, Darrell. Okay, 843-379-1010. Clyburn, you kind of covered this when we first started, Marcel, about Clyburn giving credit for the Biden turnaround in the early days of his run and whatnot like that. And they say that, he is the kingmaker and all that stuff. But you kind of touched on that. And can you see anything else that he is getting? I know what he's not doing, but is he getting anything other than Joe Biden coming to South Carolina State College or something for him? I mean,
well, he gets $1 million, or he's received over $1 million from the pharmaceutical companies. So when you look at the fact that South Carolina District 6 is the least insured of all districts, and yet South Carolina is one of the unhealthiest states, I think like number 5 or number 6, and we all know a lot of our people deal with higher rates of diabetes, cancer, hypertension, heart disease, and you think about how we have not had a push to at least make healthcare, I can't stand when people say affordable. No, healthcare should be something that can be covered, at least an option, a public option where it can be covered. When you think about how Clyburn doesn't push that line, it's because if he does, the pharmaceutical companies that has reason why he has all those millions will easily cut him off. So that's what he gets. He gets funding from all these corporations that keep him rich. His portfolio has gone up in the millions, while his district is only getting poor.
That's amazing. He's so close to power.
Yes,
he's so close to power, but
how does he sleep at night? That's what I wonder. Like, how can you be that close to power and see us suffering?
Right.
And you don't say Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, all right now, hey, you're going to be ignoring my people too much longer.
Right.
I don't understand.
I don't get it either. I really don't. I know it's early on in the, in your campaign. I understand you again, like you talked earlier, that you're gonna. You had not actually put the paperwork in yet for
March 16th to March 30th is the filing time, and I will be filing during that time.
Is it anybody that we know of that you can say in the state or on the national level that you feel that you can point to that you more than likely will think that they will endorse your campaign?
I have some, but I don't want to say their names right now.
Okay.
But there are some who are in the local government who I may very well, from whom I need to get an endorsement. Here's the scary thing, though. Well, sad. They're afraid of Clyburn. They're afraid of rocking the boat. They know he's not good for us. They know my platform is really the type of platform black South Carolinians have needed. But they have literally said they got to be stealthy with it. But there are several people who have said they may very well come out and endorse me, but they want to make till it's safe. I tell them, no, look, I appreciate that, but if you're going to ride with me, you got to ride with me whether it's going to be safe to do so or whether it's going to be risky to do so. If you ride with a person, you ride with me no matter what the weather is. The Bible says in fair weather or in inclement weather, you're supposed to be with someone. But yes.
Had any Glass, the other guy on last Sunday, had any national media anything, even giving you a call? Nobody?
I have gotten...
You have to say the media.
I have not gotten a call from any of the national media outlets. I've had some of their reporters reach out to me, but they've done things outside of that national media entity. But some of the reporters have, but not the company themselves.
I think probably once you register, and
that's what I said,
and coming up to that primary and whatnot, do you think that there will probably be any do you think anybody going to be sponsoring any kind of what do you call those things, debates and whatnot?
I'm going to call the South Carolina Democratic Party and tell them that I would like for debates to be scheduled, because I thought they're supposed to have a calendar already. After usually we draw the lines.
You talking to Clyburn on this, or you talking to Clyburn's
I'm going to I don't know who's over. I think Mr. Clyburn's daughter is over it. And to be honest with y'all, to her credit, I've only spoken to her once, and actually speaking to her, that was the only time I actually got accurate information. Everyone else there gives me messed up information or just flat out lies. She's the only person whom I've spoken with once who actually gave me information that was spot on. So to her credit. So I'm not sure whom I have to speak with. I'll call the South Carolina Electoral Commission as well, because there needs to be debates. Yes. Clyburn has not had to be held accountable by South Carolinians. He needs to be held accountable. I need anyone listening, y'all need to be pushing him for debate. Call his office, email him, and let him know he needs to agree to debate me or any other candidate that's running against him. He needs to be held accountable. He's not above being held accountable. No one is above that.
Yep. Again, going back to the Congressional Black Caucus, John Lewis and Elijah Cummings, they're going. They've done their thing and they're going. And the media, national media, especially white mainstream media, kind of hold them up as icons. You know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on those two guys?
I don't know a lot about Mr. Cummings. I know some about Mr. Lewis. I respect the work he did in the civil rights movement, and I'm just going to leave it at that, because we black Americans are to the bottom in terms of wealth. We're to the bottom in terms of land ownership. We have to show the slides. We're most likely to die from being mistreated at a hospital, and I have not seen any legislation being put forth, and I didn't see any from Mr. Lewis nor Mr. Cummings. So I'm just going to respectfully say, whatever they did during the civil rights era, I thank you for that. That was the 1960s and 70s. This is 2022. You can't feed me once and starve me a whole entire decade. So I'm just going to end it. I'm just going to keep it there.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. Because when you look, same thing.
Right, exactly. Look at the data. Look at the record.
The record's supposed to speak for you.
Exactly.
And when you look at the record, that don't match up with
all the praise. Right.
It just doesn't. I wasn't getting ready. How about, we talked about illegal immigrants and whatnot, coming, where, illegal immigrants come across the border. I think there was some pushing this idea, what about $450,000, and I think they caught them. I think they was going to try to do it, but I think they caught them, and I think they kind of lowered the temperature on that. Did you remember that?
I remember it, and that was the first time my family, who largely stays out of politics, my aunts, my grand-aunts, my great-grand-aunts, my brother, who's in prison, all called up, cursing up a storm. You give reparations, and I know we will digest version. I'm going to be quick with this as I can possibly think. I want our people to think about this, though. People, my black people, listen to this. Joe Biden's the man that wrote the 1994 crime bill that locked up more of our people than any other piece of legislation in history. Clyburn voted for that bill.
Yes,
now, these people come to our country illegally, and they get arrested. And he was pretty much saying that because they were taken from their children, which, by the way, studies have shown that was not their children, he wanted to give them $450,000 per person. Where is the $450,000 for all of the black Americans that have been arrested for crimes we didn't commit, or for minor crimes that were taken from their family members? My oldest brother is in prison for his first conviction. He has 4 kids. Is he going to get $450,000? Yet, when Joe Biden was asked about reparations for black Americans, he said he'll see if it involves Native Americans. Yet no one involved. We don't get the benefit from Native Americans. As a matter of fact, our black brothers and sisters who actually have Native American ancestry, they are fighting right now to get their Native American benefits, and they're not getting it. So I want y'all to understand, he was wasting no time trying to give almost $500,000 to people here illegally. But to black Americans who built this nation, shed blood for this nation, and were then murdered and hung with the American flag in this nation, he doesn't do anything for that. We have to stop letting them disrespect us.
Yes.
It's an insult to our ancestors who would not have gone for it.
Kamala Harris, when they asked, what, I can't remember who asked her that, what are you going to do? I mean, you've seen that clip. What are you going to do specifically? No. Right. You know, for black people. What are your thoughts on Kamala?
I have to give her credit. She lived up to her every word. She said, I'm not going to sit here and shoot you. I'm not going to sit here and do, I'm going to say it's only going to benefit black people. No. But yeah, you could pull a speech of her saying to the Jewish community how they're recognizing the Holocaust for the different Native American tribe, for illegal immigrants, black Americans. I'm sorry, but this is our fault. We have let them disrespect us. Other groups get policies. They give us hope and prayer, and they come to church and dance with us, and Clyburn does his little fish fry once a year, and he feeds us on one day, and he lets us starve 364 other days. We have let them disrespect us. Kamala Harris would not have said that about any other group. She wouldn't have said it to Hispanics. She wouldn't have said it to Asians. She wouldn't have said it to Native Americans. Why did she feel that she could say that about us? Because we let them disrespect us. Wait till I get to D.C. Wait till I get there. I dare one of them to say that. Now,
that must.
And you know, I mean, you don't care how the media comes. Well, you know, Congressman Dixon, did you hear what he say? You know, do you care about that?
Wait, no. Don't worry about what I say. They be worried about what I'm going to do.
Cynthia McKinney. You familiar with Cynthia McKinney?
Yeah, she was about that life.
What are you thought? What are your thoughts on her?
I don't know much about her record. I'll put that disclaimer. But I know her energy was a take. She didn't mince words.
No, she didn't.
And Barbara Jordan too.
No, she
Barbara Jordan didn't mince words.
No,
she spoke out against illegal immigration. She was like, you're about to let people come over here illegally and get all the benefits that you denied to my ancestors.
And that year that Cynthia was running, Marcel, I had a sticker, man, on the back of my truck, you know, with Cynthia's thing on. And man, I lost my friends, man. My friends. I don't want to be friends with you. You know, we were voting for Obama. We were voting for Obama, and you mean to tell me you can influence people and you riding around in your truck with a Cynthia McKinney? I said, well, that's the person that resonates with me.
That's right.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Obama did not resonate with me, period. You know what I mean?
You know, we worship Obama, and I need black American people, I need us to stop people worship. We do not worship politicians. We demand policies from politicians. I need us black Americans, we are embarrassing our ancestors. We're embarrassing them. They knew that politicians worked for us.
Yes.
They knew that they were not to be praised by us. They were to be held accountable by us. So I have every right to criticize any politician's record, and that includes Obama.
That's right.
The data is the data. So black Americans, we need to stop worshiping politicians. We need to start demanding policies from these politicians. If we were doing that, we wouldn't be living in the sixth poorest area in the entire country, and Clyburn's been in office for 30 years. That's the best he has to show for it.
Okay, and we are winding our final 9 minutes, folks. So now, well, anyway, 5 to 9 minutes, and then we'll be going. So if you have anything that you would like to ask of Marcel here, feel free to call. Again, Gregg Marcel Dixon, again, he's a teacher, activist, and reparationist candidate. He's a candidate from Jasper County, and he's running for the South Carolina 6th Congressional District seat, the seat that has been held by 81-year-old James Clyburn since 1993, and we've been sort of walking through Clyburn's record to some extent, and we have been walking through the ideas of some of the things that Marcel have planned to do should he, should you guys, choose him. I mean, you heard it. I mean, you heard the program on last Sunday. You heard you were listening to this program. Now you heard it. Now I hope that you were listening as you were hearing it. I hope that you was actually listening to it and using all your faculties and taking in, what you were hearing. Okay, let's talk to Lindsay. Okay, that's Lindsay Jackson. Yes. I hadn't heard from Lindsay since Heckler was a pup, as they used to say.
Yes.
Hey, Lindsay, how you doing?
All right.
Good to hear from you. What's happening?
I don't have any questions, but I just had to, for listening, I just had to call in and tell him thank you.
Man.
Because I agree with 100% of what he's saying, everything.
Mm-hmm. And I know that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
And people just don't understand. I've been saying everything that you've been saying. Well, Clyburn, all he wants to do, and what you said about his family, that's all he cares about.
Exactly.
He doesn't care about me.
Nor your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Exactly.
And I just called to tell you thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Lindsay. I really appreciate it.
And I'm with you. I'm behind you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lindsay.
And y'all, my website, if I may give it again, is marcelforcongress.com. My poly's on there. My backstory is there. I tell you how I grew up Gullah Geechee, rural, slow country, and I'm very proud of it. And my phone number, in case you want to text me, I do text back. May not right away, but I will. It's 843-940-8983.
HBCUs, are they still relevant?
Yes, they definitely are, but they have to be made available and more accessible for the people for whom they were made for. They were made for us. And now you got all these black immigrants going there, and you've got some white Americans going there.
White folk, right? Yeah. The majority of the population. There was that school we talked about.
Blue in
West Virginia, right?
Yeah. West Virginia.
There's a majority of white people.
But they brag about it. Yeah. See, that's a problem with some of our people. If white people like us, we just feel so proud. We so happy. If white people like us, we gotta learn to love ourselves. So HBCUs are relevant, and my plan is to finance them completely, but only if the descendants of American slaves, freedmen, are the ones that have first dibs and first access. It was for us they were made for, and it's for us they should continue serving.
Okay, all right. Last question. Do you have any thoughts on the Russian-Ukrainian war, or is that just white folks' business?
I find it my thought of this. First of all, it's amazing how they have no money for reparations, but now Biden wants $6 billion for Ukrainians. They must spend how many billions and trillions to go in this war? Here's my thing I find quite funny. They want us to get involved in a war to defend Ukraine's sovereignty, their borders. But you look at our borders, and you got Guatemalans, Senegalese, Congolese, Haitians, Mexicans just flooding in our country. So if borders matter and borders should be protected, if we feel that way about Ukraine and we're telling Russia they have no right to do that, when are we going to start telling all the illegal immigrants coming here they have no right to do that? And the ones that came illegally, when are we going to let them know you had no right to do that and you got to go back? So that's my thoughts on that. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay, Doctor, you have any questions? Anything else?
I can appreciate the fact that you recognize that the key to all of this is educating. And I think one of the, I think when Brother Bam was saying that, man, he learned so much from having you on here, and like you indicated, education is the key, because if you're going around in the community and doing that, you're going to get, like Mr. Lindsay just called and other folks, it's refreshing. It's refreshing. And so just knowing that is just a refreshing thing for that to happen, and I just want you to continue doing what you're doing.
And you know, we just had one of our staff here who just called. He also works at the election when he's the local election commission.
Okay.
And he was saying that Nancy Mays District 1 now covers all of Beaufort County now.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I know that's still being challenged in the court.
So they took Beaufort and Berkeley out then. So that's that was the thing that was hanging in limbo.
But I think we as people who are not in the district can still be important to your campaign.
They can still y'all can still donate, please, and y'all can tell other people. Because look, we all one big low country. Well, y'all can tell a friend, tell that friend to tell a friend, tell your church mates, because we've only been, I know we got to wind down. I'm going to say this last thing. Clive Roy has only been reelected because it's like having, for breakfast, you only have grits, and then you only have grits. So all you have is grits. All you want to eat is grits. Now we have not just an option, we have a good option. No more not voting for the crazy Republican guy or voting for the Democrat that don't do anything. Now you're going to vote for a person who's doing what the Democrats should be doing, and that's looking out for the people who vote for them most loyally, and that are Black Americans. And I'm not Black Americans only, but I'm sure as hell gonna put Black Americans first.
So you're not people of color? That's not you?
No. You ain't brown?
You ain't minority?
No minority, no black and brown. Black, not just black, and not just even black, but Black Americans.
Right.
We got a little joke about that, but
you won first.
Yeah, we have a what is it?
A school board member.
Yeah. You know, we've been trying to teach him forever that you black before you people of color, but he just
I don't know how he doesn't get it.
He just can't pull it out himself, man. I don't know why.
I think it was he found it when I think it was Biden that said that called us black folks, and then he said it was all right.
It was all right.
Exactly.
Since Biden said it was okay. Yeah. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up now. You know, we've been here for 2 hours. I hope and trust that you heard something that you like, and I really don't see how you can not hear something that you didn't like. You know, as Cassandra just came in, she said, "Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Freedom Road." You know, so everybody seems to me now, based on how the way we kind of been doing this thing, they riding with you, brother. Now, but we just don't want them to say they riding with you in their brain.
Right.
They need to be riding with you with their wallet.
Yep.
They need to be riding
word of mouth.
And word of mouth action. You know, we got relatives, we got friends.
Yes.
You know, in the 6th district, even if we are not in the 6th district.
The 6th district is Jasper County, y'all. It's Dorchester.
Yes.
It's Hampton County,
Colleton.
all these areas we know. Richland County,
Yes.
Williamsburg, Charleston, North Charleston mainly. So we definitely know the Bamberg. These are areas we know, and we all know we're all like the same, especially in the Low Country. So run your mouths about me so I can help you.
Okay, and the last thing, Marcel, we always call put the wrapping tie. We're gonna let you put the wrapping tie on this. Give us about 3 minutes.
Okay.
Wrapping tie. Give it to us. In other words, you want to tell us. You're going to end the program. Let's put it that way. Go ahead.
Okay, y'all, so listen here. My family, we have a history of some people with hypertension, and we've inherited it, okay? It's just genetic. I inherited it from my father's side. The same way we can inherit something physical, we can inherit things that are social and cultural. Black Americans, of no fault of our own, we've inherited poverty, we've inherited violence, we've inherited psychological and mental distress, mass incarceration, the so-called war on drugs, the importation of drugs, lynch mobs, chattel slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, the burning down of our successful communities that we built for nothing. All of those things are responsible for conditions that we have now. So, I was always taught when you break something, you repair it. The American government has done that with the Japanese Americans. They've done that with Native Americans. They even helped to do that with the Holocaust, which we had nothing to do with. So if they can do that for all these other groups, they can definitely do it for the groups to whom they owe the most. The groups that built this nation, protected it, sustains it, and though they've done awful things to us, we are the most loyal to it, and that's Black Americans. But let me say it, we are going to lose every fight for which we don't get in the ring. We have to step in the ring, and we have to fight this fight. And yet, with us as Black Americans, every fight we've ever fought, even though we've lost a few battles, we've always won. And we're going to win this one too. Reparations now. Gregg Marcel Dixon for South Carolina District 6. MarcelForCongress.com. Thank you.
And we thank you, Marcel, for coming so very much. Dr. O, you have anything before we go?
Hey, that's it. Hey, we all get out thinking reparations now, reparations forever.
Thank you.
Right. And thank you all, folks, for listening. We thank everyone who hit us up there on Facebook. Thank you so very much. I think it was a great conversation this afternoon. I think Marcel will be a great candidate. You know, I mean, I don't say things that I think that's going to take us down. I only say things that I think that's going to take us out. Yes. So if you're down with getting on out to that poll, or whatever the case may be, if he can, make it through that. Well, you need to help him in the primary, as they call it. Yes. You know, in other words, the primary.
June 14th, 2022.
Yeah, that's when he's going to need you. Now, so we know we're looking way down the road at November. We'll deal with that later.
June 14th, y'all. June 14th, 2022.
We can do this.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. And let's say, and not only, it's just like, and I don't want to prolong the conversation, but it's almost like that thing up there in what's that state, West Virginia, where they brought in all the big guns. You remember they brought in Obama, and they brought in
in Virginia.
Kamala.
Yeah, you got it.
And them black folks said, "The hell with y'all." You know what I'm saying?
And Georgia too.
Yeah, right.
When they went to Georgia recently, even Stacey Abrams didn't show up.
She didn't even show up their whole thing.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that don't think that we cannot win. Mm-hmm. We can win this thing, y'all.
Right.
We can do it. I'm telling you. And if those other counties, in other words, get on board, if those churches get on board, we ain't going to discuss the churches,
Right.
Maybe that's another time, Marcel. We won't get to that today, because I want to see what you feel about that off camera. Right. I don't want to know what you feel about it on camera. Then we'll talk about that later. So y'all guys have yourself a great week, for Dr. O, myself, Brother Jay, and of course we thank Gregg Marcel Dixon for coming in with us and sharing with us this afternoon. We thank each and every one of you, and we hope that you got something out of the conversation. And now we release the ancestors. Thank y'all very much. Take care.
she